Hey guys, how are you? Today in this video, we're going to solve insert interval problem. This is one of the hard problem on LeetCode. Let's jump into the problem statement. So, given a set of non-overlapping intervals, insert a new interval into that. Okay. So there are non-overlapping intervals given to us. We need to insert a new interval, in its appropriate position. So the non-overlapping intervals given are actually sorted. Okay, so that's why we need to insert the new interval in its appropriate position. And if any overlaps occurred after inserting this guy, should be merged. Okay, so we need to merge it together. In this example, after inserting this, so we'll be having 1 comma 3, 2 comma 5, and 6 comma 9. So we have to merge. The interval starts from 1 and ends with 5 because 1 comma 3 and 2 comma 5 is actually overlapping. All right, so we need to merge it after insertion. So actually we're going to perform two steps here. So first is to insert. So let's see. uh, so we can say the step number one is insert the new interval in its appropriate position. So the position could be based on the start point. Okay. So initially the list is sorted with their start times, right? So we can follow the same and we can insert this new interval in its appropriate position. Okay. So the next step is, so we need to perform merging on that list. Okay. So let's start. So for that, we're going to say we're going to return result of new list of integer array, and we're going to return that result dot to array. Okay, so that's our return value. So let's start to insert our new interval to the existing intervals. So let's create a temp list, new list of. So I'm going to create a tuple, okay, a pair, a list of pairs, okay, with start and ends, and loop through the existing interval list where interval in the given intervals and temp list dot add that interval, right? So interval of 0 the start and interval of 1 the end. Okay. So also we are just collecting all the intervals in that temporary list. So also we need to check whether the current interval, you know, is lying behind the new interval. Okay, which means that new interval so is actually lying before the current interval or not. For example, uh, let's say this example 1, 3. Okay, uh, so when we check uh, the current, so current equal to, for example, 6 and 9. Okay, so we're going to insert to 5. So we're going to insert this, and this is the current interval. So before inserting the current interval, so we're going to check whether the new interval start is lesser than the current interval start, which means this guy should go first, right? We can ensure that if the new interval start is less than the current interval's start. Okay, so if that's the case, then add our new interval. Okay, so we have added it and insert the current. So before inserting the current, let's check whether it is lying before. If it is, then insert it and insert the current one next. Okay, after this, there could be one situation like the intervals of this list could be empty. Okay, this intervals list could be empty and we are given one new interval. So we just need to have that interval alone, right, in our answers list. We can check whether the temp list is not having any value. If so, then templates.add, just add the new interval, right? So also there could be another situation that our new interval is not at all inserted because all the intervals are, lying before, you know, our new interval is not at all lying before any of our existing intervals. So in that case, our new interval should be inserted at the last, right? So let's check the length. If temp list.count is same as our intervals count. It's array, right? Yeah, just say length. Yes, that's the same. Okay, so it's not inserted. So it's not the new interval is not inserted before. So in that case, we can add templates.count. Sorry, templates.add. So basically, I can copy this, or I can just have this 0 or the same. Okay, the list does not have anything, or if the list is exactly representing the existing list, then we need to add it. Okay, I think we are done with inserting the new interval to its appropriate position. So let's move ahead to the next step. So at the end of the first step, so we'll be having this list. So I would like to take this example. So, so here, this guy will be inserted, new interval. Okay, so this is our list. We need to perform the merging of the intervals. So this is another problem now. So how do you merge the intervals in this list? Let's go through the basic idea here. So if we see the current interval and the next interval that is upcoming, okay? So the next interval is independent. How do we see that is independent? It's not overlapping. The current's end should be lesser than the next element start, right? So current element's end should be lesser than the next element start. If that's the case, then these two guys are independent and non-overlapping. If the next interval start is less than or equals to, all right, is less than or equals to current element's end, then it is actually overlapping, right? So in that case, we need to change the current interval's endpoint to this guy or this guy. So whichever is maximum, because this guy can end, it can take a very long time, or this guy also can take very long time, whichever is maximum. So current dot end versus next dot end. Okay, so among these two items, we need to take the maximum. So the maximum is 8. So finally, we'll be merging these together like 3 comma 8. Okay, so that's the way we are going to merge this two intervals. So for that, we need to have the reference of current interval, and we need to have the reference of the next interval. And also, there is a situation where if you had merged these two, okay, and if you see the upcoming interval is also going to be merged. Until we get the non-overlapping interval, we should continue this. So if we see that the next interval is not overlapping, then so let's take this example. This is the current item, then we merged this and we merged this as well. After merging this item, will be facing this. This will also get merged. And if we see this item, it's a non-overlapping item, right? So while continuing, we'll directly go to this and continue our process. Okay. So this all got merged. So current will be pointing to this interval, and the next item could be this. So we skip all this while merging. So for this purpose, I'm going to take the linked list data structure. So we'll have the reference for the current item, and we'll have the reference for the next item. Okay, so let's create it. Where linked list equal to new linked list of the type start and end. That's the item. We can say make the linked list from our existing list. Okay, so let's start to traverse where temp equal to length list dot first, while temp is not equal to null. We're going to traverse temp equal to temp dot next. We are moving next, and the current item is temp dot value. So we're going to get the value, current value. Okay. So this is a linked list item. There's a node of the linked list, and we're going to take that value, appropriate value, which is the pair. Okay, so we need the next item also here. So when the next interval is actually overlapping, then we need to merge it and we need to keep on merging the next items as well. We have to do this until we reach a non-overlapping interval. All right, so we should keep on moving next until we reach a non-overlapping interval. So to do that, we are going to expect the next item, right? So temp dot next is not equal to null. Let's take the next temp dot next dot value, and let's check whether that next interval is overlapping or not. Okay, so if next dot start is less than current dot end, this is the overlap condition, right? So as I said, so the next dot start is lesser than the current, less than or equal. If that's the case, then that's overlapping. If this situation occurs, then let's say current dot end, we're going to take the maximum out of next dot end versus current dot end, right? Whichever is higher. So after this, this is a merging operation, and move next. All right. So we will be moving next. So we need to continue this loop. All right. Uh, if this condition is not satisfied, for example, current is this, and this is a non-overlapping interval, right? So this condition won't be occurring. So in that case, break. So don't continue this loop. So don't move next because we are moving next from here on. So don't do that and just break this loop and continue to the next element. So let's test this. So maybe this is the overlapping point. So next start is actually less than current dot end, and we merge and take the maximum out of it. So current dot end is actually 8, and we are going to move to the next item. So the next item is 6, 7. So this loop continues and checks if next dot start is less than, yes, of course, right? So we're going to take the maximum and continue, and this condition will meet, right? Next dot start is actually equal to the current dot start. So in that case, this is also a merging situation. So we'll take whether 8 or 10, right? We'll be taking the maximum among 8 and 10, right? So 3, 10 will be decided here, and we move next. So once we move next, so we know that this is the item, right? This is the item, and this condition will not be met, and we are coming out of the loop. And so we have actually changed the current interval to have the merged overall interval. So this current item is being modified by this loop, and it got merged, and the modified one should be added to our result, right? So result.add new array current.start current.end. Okay, and we are going to move next, and that is empty. All right, let's comment this out, test it with the base case. All right, it works. Let's try to submit this. Right, it works. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.